Greetings fanboys and fangirls, Jared here with another video from Fanboys Forever. Today I'm coming at you with a review of the brand new Snake Armor Skeletor from Masters of the Universe Origins. That's right, the line that is still continuing. It says, Snake Armor Skeletor poisoned with power, modern posing retro play. This was an unexpected addition to the line. I remember when it was first rumored that this was coming down the pipeline, and I almost had a hard time believing it. Snake Armor He-Man had always been given a whole lot of play and a whole lot of discussion in the fan community, and was always something that people talked about quite a bit and was kind of known as one of He-Man's signature looks. But Snake Armor Skeletor, on the other hand, was never quite as iconic from 2000X, and so I never really thought that this would be something that got a modern update. Maybe it was because Snake Armor He-Man did in classics and Skeletor didn't. But against all odds, here we have it. We have Snake Armor Skeletor to go with our He-Man, and he's looking great. And here we have the back of the packaging. As you can see, we have some awesome artwork of Snake Armor Skeletor and some of the other Snake Men as they're fighting He-Man in his armor. It says Skeletor's cursed snake armor makes him stronger, but mind controlled by King Hiss. So that's a very interesting wrinkle in that. We also have a little kind of descriptor because of course the 2023 line is the rise of the Snake Men. Tells you a little bit about it. Also shows you Skeletor's Fang Blade weapon. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and open it up. And of course, as a surprise to no one, he does include this little guide about which parts are removable and which aren't. Since this time I did get the United States version of the packaging from Amazon, you can see here that we do have a mini comic in English. So it's Masters of the Universe Assassin's Aim, and just a little bit of the interior artwork. It really is another beautifully produced comic, and it actually, has all the dialogue bubbles this time. So there we go. And here he is all decked out with his armor, his shield, and his blade. We have Snake Armor Skeletor. And I have to say, getting this guy out of the packaging, he really is quite striking. I really didn't know how excited I would really be for this guy, but upon seeing him and getting him in hand, I am really struck by just how cool and, dare I say it, iconic that the guy looks. I think what they've been able to do here is they've been able to take a variation of Skeletor that didn't really get a whole lot of play or discussion in the fan community and really make it seem like he was a vintage figure that we'd had all along. So I think that that's always kind of the goal of some of these offbeat characters and origins, and sometimes they get closer than other times, and I definitely think this is one of the closer times. Yeah, I think they've done a great job here. Alright, so first things first, we'll just look at the sculpt and the general design of the figure. I think it's definitely worth talking about how there's just a lot to it. There's a lot of plastic in the packaging, and there definitely should be because the price on these guys has gone up a little bit. So, we're now looking at like a $17.99 or $18.99 figure versus the $15 these guys started out at. So we definitely should be getting quite a bit of bang for our buck. I think the first thing that strikes me is just how large the armor is, especially around the shoulders up here, with this giant cobra hood and right here with the snake head kind of in the front and the fangs. I mean, it's really cool looking. And you could imagine how with even more paint and like a wash, how incredible this would look. So I really think that that's impressive. I think the head sculpt itself does a really good job. The sculpting looks really nice, and it's worth noting that this is a completely original Skeletor sculpt. It's not just like an orange piece that's then fitted over the regular 2000X Skeletor head. No, this is like its own new thing. I particularly like the silver-like thing on the top, and I think it looks really cool, and it really does make it look like Skeletor is like peeking out of the mouth of this cobra. On the sides, you can see he's kind of looking like a jacked-up football player who is ready to take on some Snake Men, or in this case, Snake Armor He-Man. On the back, they have all this cool work going here, and this cool overlap with the head sculpt. You can see that's a separate piece, but that hood just comes down over these scales. So it's all these wonderful snake motifs that we've come to expect from the Snake Men, all combined into one. Now, what is interesting is down here with all of this is all straight up reused from the 2000X Skeletor figure. However, there's a little bit of missing paint. In that figure, we had red accents right here on these gems on the boots at the top, but that's missing here, which of course is expected because some of that paint budget is being used elsewhere on the armor and things like that. Overall, I think the paint quality is fairly good here. With the Masters lines, you never, quite know what you're going to get because, of course, it is a mass-produced toy line. So, you just kind of expect, unfortunately, that sometimes things aren't going to turn out right. But I do think that it ends up looking really nice. And of course, he has his revised 2000X monster feet still in play. This whole harness right here is very easily removable. You can, of course, just take these straps and undo them, and of course, you'll just have a bare-chested Skeletor if that is what you want for some reason. Let's definitely talk about accessories. The first one I want to discuss is Skeletor's snake blade that he's got. Now, I think this is a really interesting way to do this because it sort of almost looks like a tongue of a snake that's coming out and forking right here. And that is just really interesting. I think it's a cool choice to make it this neon green because it's a great contrast with this orange armor back here. So I do think that that was the right call in terms of the color. I think it is a little abstract when you're looking at it because it is just so out there. Maybe if the tongue had twisted around, it would have looked a little more gnarly. But it also does a really good job of looking like a vintage accessory from that time. I think the one thing that holds it back is instead of having this carried over to the other side, you have this weird attempt to save, a half a cent on plastic by having it hollow, and the same here. I think that that hurts it a little bit, especially since this apparently doesn't connect to something. I could see it if it was, part of a feature like that. But as long as you're cognizant of having the detail side facing towards whatever angle you're getting for photography, then I think it works really well. Interestingly, the accessory that shocked me the most was one that I couldn't even see in the packaging, and I didn't even know he included it. And it's this absolutely wild shield. This thing is really gigantic, honestly. It's spiky, it has all this cool design work on the front. It's the Skeletor skull, but there's two big snake fangs coming down from it. So it's like this great marriage of different visual ideas as an evil warriors and a snake men type of thing. You can see their usual kind of setup right here with the shield where they have the little clamp that goes over the arm and the handle for the hand to hold it. I was really surprised by how large it was, and to find it tucked away in the back of the package in front of the mini comic was a really cool surprise. And as you can see, I think that the order of the day here when Mattel developed this particular accessory was, let's get some more of that Skeletor purple in there because, we're kind of afraid that visually it's being a little overwhelmed by that orange. So I think both of the accessories are there to kind of diffuse so much of the orange and to give it more of those classic Skeletor colors, that green and that purple. I think maybe the only thing that's missing, it would have been cool to have seen Skeletor's cape integrated into this design. I think that would have helped diffuse some of the orange, maybe give him the purple cape over it maybe. I think that would have been a cool way to have gone, but I really do like what they came up with, and I think it's a great looking design. I think together they do look really nice. I think that Skeletor's more outrageous colors are kind of a great contrast to He-Man's more monochromatic silver color scheme here. Of course, there is some missing paint hits that would have been great to have seen them do, but having Skeletor be so vibrant with the wacky orange and everything, I think that it's a really good thing. I think maybe one thing they could have done when it came to Skeletor here is given him just a little bit of a black wash in those teeth right there, because if you notice, those kind of get lost in translation with any kind of light. You can light them to the point where you can see the teeth better, but I'll be hard pressed not to just go in myself and add a little bit of a black wash in there, let that paint settle in and bring out that sculpted detail. Another good comparison we can do is, of course, with the original 2000X Skeletor. At first, for some reason, this figure wasn't working for me as well, but I don't know. I think the longer I have him, the longer I see him, the more I like it. So I really do think that this is a great representation of that 2000X Skeletor. I think that this does definitely drive home the point that the paint work is better over here because they actually added some black in the teeth right in the middle so you can see that separation a little bit better. And there's a little bit more green on the face to just highlight it and make it look a little nicer. So I think that being missing from Snake Armor Skeletor is definitely more noticeable. But like I said, I do believe I will be going in myself and just adding a little bit of black wash to bring that out because honestly, that's kind of the last little thing he needs to bring him up to that next level. And yes, there he is, that devious King Hiss, of course controlling poor old Uncle Skeletor over here, making him do just unspeakable snake-like evil. You know, you may be looking at this and thinking, you know, why do my King Hiss eyes look a little different than yours? I repainted my King Hiss eyes because I wanted him to still retain more of that deviousness. And the original eye applications on King Hiss were just really bad. So I wanted them to look more even and a little bit more evil, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. If you want to hear more about that, I'd be happy to make a video about it and kind of show you my method and show you what I think works best for that. So just let me know down below. I mean, by now it's a little silly, I think, to show like every single articulation point and act like, oh wow, he can do this and this, because you know we've seen a million of these videos. But just, I think the only things you need to know is what's unique about a release. And definitely one thing that's unique is you're not going to get as much head range because the bottom of the hood really clashes with that chest armor. You can kind of dig it in a little, and that helps. So you can get looking down if you dig that in. The other thing is that the armor doesn't inhibit any kind of waist twist, and then the loincloth and everything does a good job of getting out of the way, so you can get your regular articulation that I think we've just come to expect now in this line. And of course, you do have some really nice rocker ankle pivot. Just know that Snake Armor Skeletor is a whole lot more articulated than like an old vintage Masters of the Universe figure. And that's a wrap on my review for Snake Armor Skeletor, the figure that proves just what an evil jerk that King Hiss really is, as he's so low that he's even victimizing poor Skeletor, making him do unfathomable snake-like evil all across Eternia. This may also be the Skeletor figure that proves that you should be careful when trying out new churches. They may just be a mind-controlling snake cult. You never know. Well friends, I certainly hope that you've enjoyed the review today. Of course, I have the entire new wave of Masters of the Universe Origins, and we'll be going over those very quickly. With the acquisition of these brand new Masters of the Universe Origins figures, it does take us a little bit closer to getting ready to do maybe another countdown video for Masters of the Universe Origins. In other words, we'll get to see exactly what I think the worst and the very best of these figures looks like once again. And I know that's a video that a lot of people have been asking about, and I am more than happy to oblige. So that will be coming sooner rather than later. I've made several different decisions over the last few months over if I thought that I should wait for more figures to come out or not, and I erred on the side of caution and just said, you know, maybe this way I won't have to constantly update. Be sure to go down below and subscribe if you haven't yet, so you don't miss out on any more Masters of the Universe videos. Be sure to like the video because it really helps us out, and comment and let me know what you think about this new take on Skeletor Snake Armor. And as always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out. And the original eye applications were just making him do unfathomable. Making him do unfathomable, making him do unfathomable snake-like evil all across Eternia.